Hi everyone, welcome to Beyond the Evidence. This is the channel where justice matters. My name is Marv. I am a true crime fanatic, and I love to dig deeper into the mysteries of unsolved cases. Join me as we search for missing persons, uncover the clues in unsolved murders, follow along with jury trials, and we'll be a voice for the voiceless. I'll share with you the facts, the theories, the clues, the evidence, and the controversies that surround these cases. This is Beyond the Evidence. Good evening, everyone. How are you? Thank you for joining me on this late live tonight in memory of Harmony. Yesterday, we received justice for Harmony as her monster sperm donor was convicted of 4 counts, including the unaliving of Harmony. As you all know, I watch a lot of trials. And this trial, wow, it's probably one of the worst that I've heard. The details that came out, the horrific things that were done to this beautiful 5-year-old. I can't even call him a man. He's not a man. He's a monster. He is an absolute monster in what he did to his daughter. I just want to say that coming from a woman who had fertility issues, children are a blessing from God. They really are. Not everyone can be a parent. I have family members and best friends that can't have kids that would be wonderful, wonderful parents. And then you have people like this man, and I gotta include Kayla in there, this woman, that are just monsters. Should have never ever had children. And in our world today, we hear so much about these kids, these beautiful children being taken off and out of this world at the hands of the people that are supposed to protect them. Mothers, fathers, uncles, adoptive parents, foster homes, doing notorious things to these kids. And it's sad. As we close Harmony's case, a new one opens. Audrey Cunningham, Elijah View. When is it going to stop? When? That's my question. I have to say that the prosecutor in this case did a phenomenal job. This case was not an easy case for the prosecution. Absolutely not. Your star witness is compliant in the cover-up of the unaliving of this little girl. She is a proven liar because she's in jail right now for perjury. They did the only thing that they could do with her, and that was make her tell the truth this time. But if the trial had gone and Kayla had been the only key witness, I don't think we would have gotten the same verdict. But what the prosecution did brilliantly is that he brought in other key witnesses to corroborate what Kayla was saying in ways that she didn't even know they could do this. And that was brilliant. And I have to say, if you haven't heard the prosecutor's closing argument, you need to go back and watch it. Because this was the best closing argument I have heard yet in all of the trials that I've listened to. And this prosecutor is making that coward come to court for the sentencing. Now, he had an option whether to come to court for the trial and the verdict, and he chose not to. But that prosecutor is making him come to court to hear those impact statements. And I'm glad, because he needs to be there. He needs to face facts. He thought because there was no remains found that he couldn't be tried and that nobody would convict him. Well, Adam Montgomery, you're wrong. Because yesterday, your peers, that jury, convicted you on all counts. Sterling, thank you so much. I appreciate it. He says, did you all know you can super chat as little as 99 cents? I appreciate it so much right now with everything going on. You don't know how much that means to me. Just every little penny adds up and helps. So I want to talk to all of you about justice. What does justice truly mean to you as an individual? And I want you guys to interact in the chat. What do you think justice is? Because it's important that we define what justice is in our community, in our true crime community. Aw, Carly, thank you so much. 5 memberships were gifted by Carly. You are wonderful. I am bringing up the other chat so that I can see Cecil Hotel, Melly, Hard Candy, Spinster, and Aunt Clara was all gifted memberships by Carly. Thank you so much. So going back to what I was talking about, Honeybee, thank you so much. Gifted 1 membership. Searched for J. Got that membership. Awesome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. So I want the beginning of this to be interactive, and I know that you guys can put this all in your chat, but I want you to tell me in the chat, what does justice mean to you for these cases? Because it's important, especially with Harmony's case, that we realize what all justice entails. So I'm going to tell you what justice to me means. Justice to me means holding the individual or individuals directly responsible for the crime, holding them accountable. Holding them accountable by going through a trial and being convicted of that crime. But it doesn't just mean that. There's so many facets to what justice means. Justice to me means that whoever failed this little girl be held accountable. It starts with the attorney that Crystal Sorry had. We all know that she was in court for her son Jameson the day that Adam Montgomery got was able to take Harmony. He got parental, whatever it's called. I can't think of it at this moment. He was supposed to ask for a continuance because Crystal could not be in 2 different courthouses at the same time. That didn't happen. Why? Why didn't it happen? Why? And then you also have to hold accountable DCFS from Massachusetts and New Hampshire. They failed Harmony. Now, the reason that Adam didn't have contact with Harmony is because he was in jail. This isn't his first crime. He's been committing crimes for years. He gets out of jail. He's clean at the moment. They give him custody. They take her away from her mother, who has issues with rugs. I'm going to shorten the word. And they give her to Adam. Nobody follows up on that from DCFS. You would think if you're going to give a little girl who does not know this man to him, DCFS would have at least followed up a few times afterwards, within 6 months, to make sure that things were going all right. But they didn't. And then you have DCFS out of New Hampshire, who had numerous calls regarding Harmony and her safety by her own uncle, great uncle. Adam's uncle called DCFS and said, you need to get out there. He's hurting this little girl. They failed Harmony. Police had been to the residence on numerous occasions, and they also failed Harmony. So when I say hold everybody responsible, accountable, I mean everybody. The person who actually did it, the person who didn't do anything to stop it, meaning Kayla, the attorney that started this whole thing in motion that didn't get a continuance, and both agencies of DCFS. All of them. We have to stop protecting DCFS. These laws need to be changed so that they cannot be protected. Yes. Are they overwhelmed? Absolutely. But something has to be done. Because we can't keep losing children due to these situations. It has to stop. And I know you've heard Anthony say this, and I am going to echo the same thing. We as a society are also accountable. Because if we see something and we don't say something, we're at fault too. So what else does justice mean? You hold everybody accountable. The person or persons that are directly responsible for it go to jail. In this case, Kayla and Adam. But we still don't have full justice, you guys. That little girl's remains are still in that CMIC bag somewhere out there. And my hope is now that we have gone through the trial, we've gotten more information, that the public in these areas steps up. The people in those areas step up. We're talking about 26 miles. They have narrowed it down to 26 miles. Get search teams together. Search every mile. And it's not even going to be a total of 26 miles because you have water in some of that. So my hope and my prayer is that when the weather breaks and it's good in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, that the people, hang on, I just lost my screen. I'm hoping you guys can see me. All right, I got some major issues here. I got screens merging. Please tell me in the chat if you can still see me and hear me. I can't get anything to work here. Yes, you are okay. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. My screens are all messed up. My StreamYard screen is gone, so I can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to stop sharing here. I am going to refresh, so if something happens, I will be right back. Okay. Yes, there has been internet problems all week. Phone, you name it. And that was completely weird. Let me tell you. Okay. So glad. Now I can see the comments and everything again. I'm just going to go back and look at your comments here. Oh, Carly, I would love for that. Eye for an eye. Honeybee says accountability and to express our collective rage and sadness. Yeah. Yes, Melissa, you are right. Adam's father did pass away the other day. Adam is a coward. Jail is paradise compared to where he's going next. I absolutely agree with you. Honeybee, yes, the Manchester police did speak out about who failed Harmony, and we're going to take a look at that one. Kayla should get her time. She is up for probation in 2 months. And I know that Crystal Sorry, Harmony's mother, is going to be there for that. I'm hoping after everything is said and done that her parole will be denied. So I don't, how many, yeah, see something, say something, exactly. I think Kayla knew pretty much everything that happened. We wouldn't be here today if Kayla had not finally cracked and talked to police. I worked for the state, and one of the guys from DHHS came over to our agency. He was a complete idiot. He went around to everyone's desk and talked nonstop. Yeah. Let's see here. You think they were out looking today? I'm sure. I'm sure now that we have this information, there's going to be a lot of searches, and I hope they find her. I absolutely hope they find her. Have a good night, honeybee. You're okay, Andrea. So, I've defined what justice means to me. Having the individual or individuals directly held accountable by going through a trial and being found guilty. Having any other individuals that failed this child held accountable. And in the end, finding Harmony so that she can be buried and in the proper way. And in this case, that is what justice means to me. I would agree with you, Camaro lover. And the reason I say that is because the prosecutor said, and we're going to take a look at what the prosecutor said in a minute. The prosecutor said, we know that she was in a bag, inside of a bag, inside of a bag, inside of that CMIC bag. So there is a very good chance that she is still, her remains are still in that bag. We just got to find it. All this time, people have been looking for parts of her. Well, now we know we're looking for a bag. We know for a fact that Adam put that bag in the U-Haul. Okay. I'm going to present here since I had to close everything out. I got to get everything back up here. I want us to watch a little bit of the prosecutor's closing argument. I'm going to play a little bit, stop it, and we're going to discuss it because, like I said, this was probably the best closing argument I have ever heard. So let me get this up here. Now, we're not going to listen to all 1 hour and 17 minutes. I'm just going to play a few parts here.
Again, everyone, I want to thank you very much for the time that you have spent in this case, for a journey that we told you back before we took the view was going to be a journey that you weren't going to forget. It has been a long couple of weeks. You have been incredibly attentive, and we are very, very appreciative of that. One of the things you heard just a moment ago from Attorney Smith was that she doesn't get the opportunity to come back up here and talk again. That's true. It's called taking turns. It's something that parents teach children. Beginning, state has to go first, defendant has to go second. At the closings, defendant has to go first, state has to go second.
Oh my. Internet.
Something very simple that parents teach children. One of the other things that they should teach is if you're going to quote the defendant, if you're going to quote a witness, you have to make sure that you're accurate. So I'll apologize in advance, but let's quote people accurately. I fucked up. Again and again and again. I fucked up. I fucked up. That's what the defendant, his language that he used when he told Travis Beach the night he got the U-Haul, the night that he disappeared Harmony's body, to whatever place it is now, where he knows it is right now to this day, his words, I fucked up. Not she, not we, not Kayla, I fucked up. Singular, personal, solo. That's the defendant's words.
Wow. What a way to start out. Especially when the defense is trying to point the finger at Kayla throughout this whole trial. Every step the defense tried to make to show and put reasonable doubt that it was Kayla who did this to Harmony, the prosecution was 3 steps ahead of them. How did they do this? During Kayla's testimony, He said to her, "How did you hear? Did you hear that the defendant pled guilty to 2 charges?" She said, "Yes." "Did you hear that the defense is going to try to pin this on you?" "Yes." And the defense was mad. Defense: "Elaine, how did you hear this?" "My attorney told me before I came to court today." Ha! Brilliant. Lane says, "Well, how do we?" She goes through and she says, "You've told all these lies," and she names one after another, after another, after another, after another. And Kayla says to her, "Yes, I lied in every single one of those instances to the police in the beginning and to the grand jury." She admits it. She absolutely admits it. And then tells her, has to answer questions about her deal, her sweet little deal she got. Well, you know what? It is a sweet little deal in the fact that she could get out in 2 months, but there was a lot of conditions to it. She lost custody of her children permanently. She was incarcerated. If she didn't tell the absolute truth in this trial, her sweet little deal went away and she was going to get prosecuted just like Adam. So she did get on the stand and she did tell them that Adam did it and what he said. And others, just like the prosecutor came and said, corroborated exactly what Kayla was saying.
Defense counsel got up here in openings and said that you'd hear evidence that Adam Montgomery was out in the middle of the night doing his business when something happened and Harmony died. If that were so, the defendant never would have told Travis Beach, "I fucked up." Adam Montgomery was no loving, caring parent, but an enraged tyrant who had no business being around young Harmony. So together, let's look at the actual evidence, the actual quotes of what you saw and heard as we look at all of the charges that you're going to deliberate on that encapsulate what the defendant did do and talk about the evidence that you've seen tells you what he committed. And we'll start first with what the defendant's telling you in opening arguments and now that you can and should find him guilty of abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence. Let's set that as the baseline. Let's start there. Let's see what that actually means before we look at how he committed each one of the crimes charged.
Do you see how he has, I mean, these attorneys, they have an idea of what they're going to say in these closing statements, right? They prepare their closing statements. But this guy, he included, and how he did it, I don't know, but he included things that the defense attorney said in her closings. And he pinpointed each one of those things and showed how she was wrong in what she was saying, talking about the defense attorney in her closing. And this is why I think this is one of the best closing arguments I've ever heard.
Not just the ones that he feels are going to distract you from the rest of the nightmare that he's responsible for. Who carried Harmony's body away from the broken down car in the duffel bag, hid her outside a colonial village, while they stayed in Anthony Badero's blue Audi for 2 nights, put Harmony under a ramp and then in a van, and then in this cooler for weeks at Christina Lubin's house, into the CMC bag, into the walk-in cooler at Portland Pie Company, in the fridge, in the freezer, defrosted her in the shower, consolidated her body yet again, brought her to the Econo Lodge, tricked his friend into renting him the U-Haul, and then dumped her body somewhere. All to make sure that the evidence that could have been brought before you that shows that he's responsible for having murdered her would never be found. And he says you can and should find him guilty of those 2 crimes, of abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence for this. He doesn't dispute this.
See what I mean about this guy? Brilliant. In just a short time, he took them through the whole scenario. Adam was the one that took her out of the van. Adam was the one that put her in the CMIC bag. Adam was the one that put the CMIC bag around certain areas and then put it in the cooler. Adam's the one that took the U-Haul.
The defense said all of that in their openings, that the defendant did both of these 2 bolded things. Since day 2 of this trial, opening arguments, you should then consider not only all of the testimony, but also all of the corroborating testimony about all of those charges. Those 2, falsifying physical and abuse of a corpse, to be true. So let's make it very, very painfully clear. From the indictments that you're going to be considering for falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse, making this Harmony fit into this and disappearing her body in the condition that it could not be found for a trial like this one. The evidence was there.
My question, you guys, is I know she was short and I know she was 35 pounds, but I cannot wrap my brain around how he folded up this little girl and put her in that bag. I just can't. I don't know what it is, but we know it happened. We know it because of everything said. And why would you keep her with you for that long in that bag? That's what I don't understand. Why? And transfer her from place to place to place to place.
The defendant's counsel professed to you that he's not disputing that, not saying he didn't commit these crimes. So you can check these 2 off the list.
This guy is spicy.
And with that, you got to remember the defendant gets no credit for this. He says that you can and should find him guilty of these, but he's not taking responsibility for them. He hasn't admitted anything. He's not taking responsibility for anything that he did. His argument to you is not because he's taking responsibility. It's tactical.
Exactly.
He admits what he can't deny. And he denies what he can't afford to admit. he cannot deny each and every single one of these facts that were presented to you.
Look at all those facts.
That she died on the 7th. That he brought her in a double.
I mean, look at all these facts. Died on December 7th. Took the duffel bag to Colonial Village. Stored it under the deck. Stuffed it into a red cooler. Hid it in a closet. Hid it in the ceiling. They found blood in the ceiling at the fit shelter. They found Adam Montgomery's fingerprints in the ceiling. And I'm telling you this next part, storing Harmony's body in a cooler at the Portland Pie Company, they had 2 employees come up and testify. Can you imagine what they thought when they found out what was in that bag and that bag had been put in that cooler with all the food? I can't imagine. I would have upchucked right there and then, so and probably kept upchucking at the thought of it. Storing Harmony's body at 644 Union Street. The fact that he kept consolidating and trying to get rid of any liquid. Why? And this is a key part. He specifically brought her to the Econo Lodge the night that they rented the U-Haul and got his friends to rent the U-Haul for him, so it would not be in his name. And the next day when his buddy messaged him on Facebook Messenger and says, "Hey, did you return the U-Haul?" Adam Montgomery's like, "We're not talking about this on Facebook. Do not ever mention this again." And knowing that he knows where this little girl is, but he won't say. He's a coward. He would rather have this little girl remain in that bag forever, wherever he put her, instead of having the proper and respectful burial that he deserves, that she deserves. He used the U-Haul because he knew he had to pass tolls. He did not, well, and at the time, they didn't have a working car, I don't believe. But he didn't want anything linked back to him. So he figured if he had his buddy rent a U-Haul and he took it in the middle of the night and went and dumped Harmony, that it wouldn't lead back to him. He was an idiot. He was on drugs, and he is so messed up that his thinking was not right at all. And I'm glad it wasn't, because in the end, the things that he did helped convict him. All right, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here and see what he's got to say.
Nor does it give his argument any credibility that because
Come on.
I concede all of this, well, the rest of it must not be true.
Yeah. That's why I said his way of thinking is just idiotic. For us, it was good.
The whole thing's true.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this video here. If you want to see the rest of it, I will put a link in the description below so that you can watch that. Because he goes on to point out a lot of things, and he goes on to address the fact that Kayla is not a good person. That she did absolutely nothing. And he repeated that so many times. Did absolutely nothing to help Harmony. I need to find my other video. Okay. So as you can see, when the verdict was read, it was the prosecution and the defense team. Adam was not in court again. And Massachusetts or New Hampshire's different. One of the things in the trial is the jury was not allowed to take any notes. So they had to carefully watch what was being presented and go off of memory. But then when they went to deliberate, they had most of the items and the evidence, the photos and everything went to the jury room with them. The only thing that didn't go back was like the cooler, the ceiling tiles. But if they wanted to see any of that, they could come back to the courtroom and see it. Now I was watching all the different news channels, Court TV and everything that were waiting for the verdict, and people were getting nervous. It's been too long. Is it going to be a hung jury? Are they going to find him innocent? What is going on? We have to remember that in the past, years ago, if a jury came back within a few hours, that was a sign of guilt. Okay? If a jury took hours and hours to deliberate, that was a sign of either a hung jury or innocence. It's not like that today. It's not like that at all today. Today's juries know their job. What we're finding out is it's the opposite. If a jury comes back quickly, in most cases, it's either a hung jury or innocent. But the juries that are taking longer and taking many hours to deliberate and go through evidence and connect the dots, that's when your conviction and your guilties are happening. And that's what happened here. Let's take a look at, and the way that they read this verdict was weird. Because in most cases you see them pause and, try to prolong it. Not this court. Went right into it. So let's take a listen.
As to charge ID 1937947C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree assault, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
As to charge ID 2027112C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree murder, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And as to charge ID 202-7113C, charging the defendant with the crime of falsifying physical evidence, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 202-7114C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of abuse of corpse, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson.
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 202-7115C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of tampering with witnesses and informants, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson.
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bizarre moment, right? You're looking in the court.
Look at how quick that was. They didn't have to pull the jury because after every single charge and verdict was read, they had the jury verbally verify that that was their decision. So now what happens? Well, this judge has a trial starting in April. So we are looking at sentencing possibly the end of March, but more than likely it's going to be in May. So we will keep you updated when that happens. What I wanted to finish talking about here is I want to play a part that Court TV did on where that U-Haul was, what route that U-Haul took. Because as I said earlier, we have not received final justice for Harmony. We need to find her. So if you know people that are in the New Hampshire, Massachusetts area, give them this information. I'm sure a lot of people have it, but if they can go and help search in these areas to find Harmony, that would be great.
Have gone with Adam Montgomery behind the wheel. So we begin here. Map number 1. The drive from the U-Haul rental.
Hang on. Gotta switch my screen here. There we go.
To the Manchester Econo Lodge, where Adam Montgomery apparently picked it up, is only 1.8 miles, okay? 1.8 miles. It's close. Not too far away. So let's take a look at the calculation now. So the return mileage of the U-Haul was 5,225 miles. The pickup mileage was 5,092. You do a little subtraction there, and you get 133 miles. Then you subtract the 1.8 miles from the U-Haul to the Econo Lodge, and you have about 131.2 miles or so, right? You divide that in half, right? Because when you're driving somewhere, you've got to come back. So again, this is doing a little bit of rough estimating here. So 131.2 divided by 2, 65.6 miles one way. So is that how far from the Econo Lodge that Adam Montgomery went, or as far as he could have potentially gone? Let's take a look at where that puts us. There's the Econo Lodge, and there, folks, is our 65-mile radius from there. That's where we start, but we have a little more information, so we can get a little more specific here, because there are toll photos of the U-Haul. The U-Haul makes 3 toll violations on the Tobin Bridge in Boston, Massachusetts. They've got the picture.
So what Vinny is saying is that because these tolls are there, you can reduce the amount of miles even more. And that's what's important. We know the main path that he probably took from this hotel to the area that he went to and back. So you can different tolls in that area, you know that there's not going to be places to hide or dump remains. So you take all of that and you subtract that out, and that's how they're getting the total of the 26 miles.
Of them. But the timing of it all is fascinating as well. You've got at 4:44 a.m., Tobin Bridge North, 1 violation. 4:45 a.m., a Tobin Bridge South violation. And then you've got to push ahead 25, 35, 40 minutes. You've got a Tobin Bridge North violation, again, another North violation at 5:25 a.m. Now, let's get back to the map. How far is this Tobin Bridge from that Econo Lodge? There you see you're traveling south. It's 53.5 miles. So now let's go back and do a little more math if we can. I hope you're following this, folks, because I can follow this. Again, the return mileage minus the pickup mileage is 133 miles. Minus the 1.8 is 131 miles. Divided by 2 is 65.6 miles. But now you've got to subtract the 53.5 miles to get to the Tobin Bridge, which leaves us with 12.1 miles that are left. So let's take a look at another map. You've got the Tobin Bridge, and this is everything that is within about 6 miles around the Tobin Bridge.
Now, I just want to say this Revere is a very, very specific area that law enforcement has been looking in. And the reason for that is that Adam is very, very familiar with Revere. So they have been doing a lot of searches in that area. And this is amazing to me. And this is why I'm showing you the court TV one. Because the prosecutor, when he talked, he kept talking about this 26 miles, right? Well, they're even narrowing it down to 12 miles, which is a lot less than 26. And they're giving you the radius to look in. And what all is in these areas. You got the Revere Beach Parkway, you got the Belle Isle Inlet Marshes, you got the Rumney Marsh Preserve, and you got to remember that in this area here, there's going to be houses, there's going to be businesses and stuff like that are going to take, you're not going to search those areas. Let's see here. I wonder if they can tell the direction he was headed based on toll photos. Absolutely. Drew more attention to himself by blowing the tolls and getting his plate photographed even more. Yeah, like you said, not a very smart man at all. So if we take the information that Court TV is giving us here and we compare it to the testimony and the information that was given during the trial, there's a good chance we could find Harmony. Now, what's against us in finding her? Well, it's been 5 years. that's a minus. You're looking for a bag. That bag could have deteriorated. I'm hoping not, but it could have. And you're talking about marshy areas. So, those areas are going to be tough to search. But any of the areas that have wooded areas and stuff like that can be searched. But then again, we're assuming that he buried her. And after 5 years, everything's going to be grown up over it. It's not going to be easy to tell where that could have been buried. But I have all the faith in the world that these officers from Manchester PD are not going to give up. They are going to keep searching for Harmony. Yes, Miracle Hearts, you are right. Court TV did the radius, but the actual police department have the route. Now, you got to take into consideration, they know that he went through the tolls and things like that. Did he turn off on other roads? That's a possibility. But they have the general route that they believe he took. They believe that he did wait until he got to Massachusetts, because otherwise, why drive all that way? That's why they have focused the searches around Revere and those other areas in Massachusetts. I mean, why go blow through the tolls to get there if you're not going to put her there? If you were just going to go between Econo Lodge and the border, he would have never been on the tolls. They would have never known, where he was going. So that's why I said, between the information that Court TV has with the radius and what police have on the routes, I'm hoping that one day they are able to find her. And that would be the final justice for Harmony, is to find her and have a proper burial. So we know that Crystal Sari did do a press conference. And in that press conference, she said that Harmony is no longer and never will be a Montgomery. She wants everyone to go, and it's Harmony Renee. That is her name going forward. So, our hopes are that Harmony Renee can be found, can be brought home, and can be buried respectfully. With the gun charges that Adam previously got, and now the jury finding him guilty on all of these charges, he will never get out of jail. He will spend the rest of his life and die in prison, where he belongs. And we all know how prison life can be. I don't care if he has a teardrop tattoo on his eye or not. Somebody eventually will get a little justice for him. For her. By doing something to him. His life in jail is not going to be fun. As it hasn't been. And as far as I'm concerned, he can rot there. Now, when it comes to Kayla, we've got a battle on our hands. Like I said, she's up for parole in 2 months. And yes, she did a service by finally telling the truth that got Adam convicted. But she absolutely did nothing to help that little girl. She could have taken Harmony away from him and ran with the other kids and got help. She could have tried more to stop him from beating her. Was she physically abused? Absolutely. In the back of her mind, did she not stop it? Because if it was happening to Harmony, it wasn't happening to her. She needs more time in jail to think about her actions. And I am hoping, beyond hope, and praying that parole board does not let her out on her first chance. So I'm going to end tonight with our hope and prayers that little Harmony, Renee, is found sooner than later, and that her family can give her the proper burial and resting place that she deserves. It's my hope and prayer that Kayla remains in jail. I don't think she's served enough time. I absolutely don't. So, as I said earlier, our children are a gift from God. We need to honor them and protect them. And even if they're not your children and you see something that's majorly wrong, you need to say something. And you need to continue saying something until action is taken. As a society, we cannot keep ignoring what is going on right in front of us. We have to put a stop to it. We have to do whatever we can to put a stop to it. We have to help protect these children. So please, if you see something, say something and continue to say it until action is taken. Because we don't want any more of these precious children to be taken away from us, even though it's happening every day, multiple times a day. We as a society have to step up. We have to be the ones that care. Because in the end, for all of these children that are taken away from us, justice does matter. No matter what your definition of justice is. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'll be bringing you some more stories here in the future. I plan to do one on Audrey Cunningham and little Elijah View out of Wisconsin. 2 more heartbreaking stories of children in this world. Thank you for joining me. Please like the stream, add a comment below, share, and donate if you can. Have a great night, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching Beyond the Evidence. Today, I gave you my own opinions, but I always encourage you to do your own research, inform your own conclusions. If you're interested in true crime and want to join me on this journey of discovery, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of my uploads. If you'd like to support the channel, join our membership. And if you have any suggestions for cases that you want me to cover, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And remember, justice matters. This is Beyond the Evidence. And I'll see you in the next video.